As most of you out there already know, there's kind of a big story in the news right now regarding a stand your ground case in Florida. This is the one where a gentleman was arguing with a woman over a handicapped parking space that she was parked in illegally. The husband came out, shoved the guy to the ground. The guy pulled his gun, shot the husband. It's really easy to find information on this shooting. There's tons of places where the video is posted and lots of witness testimonies, etc., that you can find on the net. Well, people have been asking me, do I think this shooting was justified? Did the guy overreact, the one that pulled his gun and shot the guy after being shoved to the ground? Well, I've been looking at this for a while now. We've talked about it in live chats. I've talked it over with other people, kind of seeing what I really think. Because, you know, I was kind of in a gray area over this. So the first thing I had to say, and I will say this right now, that I still feel this way. Did the guy who got shoved down make the right decision to shoot the guy? I don't think he did. I don't think that that was the right choice. But whether something is the right choice or not is not the only thing to look at. We have to look at, was it justifiable? Was it reasonable? And after looking it over again and again and again, I do think it was justifiable and reasonable. Like I said, it was the wrong choice, but it was kind of a no-win situation. This was a situation where the guy came out, shoved him to the ground. That was a mistake. Getting into the argument with the woman over the parking space, that was a mistake. You know, it was just a bunch of mistakes that led up to something very unfortunate happening. Now, a lot of people will use the argument of, like, yeah, but he didn't deserve to die over a parking space, and we'll get to that here in a few moments. But just looking at the tape and just looking at what happened, like I said, a woman parks illegally in a handicapped parking space. Someone else, another gentleman, and people call him an older gentleman, and I think he's younger than me, so I don't know how to take that. But he comes over, gets into an altercation with this woman, not a physical altercation, just a verbal sparring with this woman over her parking illegally in a handicapped parking space. Well, I've read some eyewitness reports and stuff of people who I guess were there, or there's just news reports that said that they believe that the woman was the one that actually started the screaming and the fighting between the two of them. And I don't find that hard to believe. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about women out there. Don't take this as the wrong way, but I think that one problem with a lot of women nowadays is that when they're teenagers, they don't punch each other in the face enough. When men are teenagers, if we push things a little too far, even our friends will punch us in the face. Women don't do that. They just get snarky behind each other's back. If they got punched in the face more, I think they'd filter more of what they think from what they say, like men often do. Men, believe me, no matter who we are, in the back of our head, when we're dealing with someone else, we're like, could this person kick my ass? And how far should I push anything before he does? So women don't think that. Believe me, I've been in conflicts with a lot of women where they feel like they can just do anything they want to you and you can't do anything about it. I've seen women especially when I was in law enforcement, I've seen women take things to a point that a man would never take it to, and they do it simply because they think that they are immune from repercussions because they're a woman. And that's, like I said, because they don't punch each other in the face enough when they're teenagers. But that's a sidetrack there. So basically, like I said, they got into this argument. This woman called her husband who was inside the store. He came out, and immediately when he comes out, they're arguing with each other. And let's reiterate here. The only crime committed at that point was her parking illegally, which is a minor offense, not a big deal. Them arguing, not really a crime. As long as they're not threatening each other, not really a crime. So she calls her husband. He comes out. He immediately shoves the gentleman to the ground. He stumbles backwards and falls. Now, there's another crime committed. So that's assaulting someone. You can't do that. That's not something you are allowed to do in your daily life. So that's another crime. Now, is it a crime worth losing your life over? No, it's not. I don't think two men getting involved in a fist fight requires either of them to die. But in this case, this guy comes out, shoves the guy to the ground. He's now on the ground. This guy comes at him in a very menacing manner. I've watched the tape again and again and again, and it's a very menacing manner he comes at him. Then he pulls his gun, and the guy backs up a little bit. To me, it looked like he backed off a little bit. And so I'm going to say, looking at it as a third person, it's very easy for me to say, he backed away, you should have not shot, therefore it's not the right decision. You shouldn't have fired your weapon because he stepped back. But here's the thing. You have to put yourself not in the position of someone watching a video after the fact. You have to put yourself in the position of the guy on the ground with a larger man looming over you. And anyone knows, when you're in such a high-stress, high-adrenaline situation, your perceptions are not the same as they would normally be. So we can't even tell for sure that guy ever even recognized whether the guy took a step back. He could have had tunnel vision. He could have not even noticed the distance between him and the other guy. All he saw was the threat. And he's on the ground. That puts you in a very vulnerable situation. You know, I was always taught growing up by my uncles, my mom, everyone that taught me how to fight. If you're on the ground, you've probably already lost, because good things don't happen on the ground, especially if you're not both on the ground. So this guy's in a really dangerous situation with this bigger man over him. This could have very easily been a situation of man's killed by a girl's boyfriend in parking lot after being kicked in the head. And I've seen that. I've seen people go to trial because they kicked someone in the head after they were down, killed them, and then when they went to trial, they're like, I didn't really mean to hurt anybody. I didn't know kicking someone in the temple really hard would kill them. You know, because they see TV shows where you bash people in the head with a pipe and they just go, oh, what happened? You know, 15 minutes later when they wake up. But that's not the reality. You can easily kill someone, especially from above, striking someone in the head. People die of head injuries all the time. So that guy was in a situation where he had every right to fear for his life. He had just been assaulted. He was on the ground and there was a large man standing over him. So I believe he was reasonable in assuming that he was in danger or feeling threatened, that his life was in danger. Because like I said, we have to put ourselves in his position. And in his position, I can't say that he noticed that the guy took a step back. We can notice it in the video. He may not have noticed it at all. And like I said, he was in a fight or flight mentality right then. He was in a I have to defend myself situation because flight was taken away from him. And when fight or flight kicks in and you can't run, that's kind of a scary situation because he was on the ground. So did this guy deserve to lose his life over a parking spot? No, he didn't. But he did something stupid and it placed him in a situation where this could happen. It's just like when if someone goes free climbing and they decide they don't want to use ropes and they fall to their death. Well, if someone says, did he deserve to die just because he went free climbing? No, he did not deserve to die. But he placed himself in a situation by doing something that I would think is stupid, that it could happen. And this guy who shoved the other guy to the ground placed himself through his own actions in a situation where someone could be justified in feeling threatened, that their life was in danger. And because he did that, then the shoot is legal. So I have to just go by what's legal. And I think that shoot was legal. Now, some people are going to say, well, but we should at least have a trial. Because believe me, in one of our live chats, someone came up and said, but shouldn't we even have a trial to at least let all this come out and determine that it was justified? I don't agree with that at all. Because a trial ruins somebody's life. It just is going to. So if you decide, well, we'll just try him and see what happens. No, that's just saying we're going to ruin this guy's life to see what happens. What you have to do is you have to look at it and you have to say, is this a case that would be won? Is there enough evidence that he did something wrong? I mean, and bad judgment in the situation isn't a crime. He was placed in a situation he didn't ask to be placed in. Even if he was arguing with someone, that's not a crime. Someone else committed a crime, he responded to it, then someone else committed a worse crime, and then he defended himself. And whether it was good judgment or not doesn't matter. So a prosecutor say that's not something that's going to be prosecutable. So we don't just take it to trial just to see, because you know you're ruining someone's life. You're wasting public resources to take someone to trial. So you have to say, even if we don't agree with what happened and we think what happened is a tragedy, it's not worth taking someone to trial and ruining their life over, because the guy on the ground is, in my opinion, guilty of poor judgment or making a bad decision. But he was in a worse situation. He made a bad decision, but the situation he was in was even worse. And he didn't put himself in that situation. Now, a lot of people say, well, he put himself in that situation by getting into an argument. No, you don't have to. Whoever escalates is the one that escalates. If someone yells at me and I yell back, a lot of people will say, and that eventually escalates into more people like, well, you should just walk away. I have every right to meet force with equal force. You know, and it's especially when it's not physical force against each other. Like if someone yells something at me, I have every right to say something back to them. And then if they decide they want to throw fists at me, I have every right to throw fists at them. And then if it gets more dangerous than that, if I for some reason feel I'm in a dangerous situation, I have every right to respond. Not because I'm armed doesn't mean I don't get to be in altercations and don't get to defend myself. I don't like that whole idea at all. Whoever escalates is the one who's at fault. So whoever escalates it to where someone's in danger. And that guy who pushed him down escalated it to where it was reasonable. It's reasonable to assume that that guy felt in fear of his life, that he felt like he could die in that situation. Because I've seen people die in that situation. So it's one of those things that there's no good in this at all. There's no good moral there other than don't push people down. But there's the only story is sometimes when people have a right to defend themselves and you live in a free country, sometimes things happen that shouldn't have happened. And sometimes people make bad decisions. But when you put yourself in a situation where someone feels fearful, and like I say, I might not have felt fearful on the ground. I'm 200 plus pounds, over 6 feet tall. I might have gotten up and swinging. But this guy might have, a condition where he can't fight. He might not be able to get up easily. There's lots of things that are personal to him where he could have felt like, this is it, I'm going to die because I can't defend myself. Or I'm just in a really bad situation here. So I think this was a horrible event. I don't think there's any winners or there's no winners here. They're all losers. One person lost more than anyone else, but it's still all losers. So I'm going to say, I don't think it's a good thing, and I don't think the guy made the right decision, but I think what he did is understandable, it's reasonable, and it's justified. Therefore, it's legal, and that's, in the end, all that really matters.